Welcome to our class. So today, let's talk about array. You probably already know what an array is, but let's give a very simple explanations of array. Array is a sequence of data. So you can treat it as a simplest data structure you will have in this class. Array, if I have an integer array, it will be something like this, a sequence of integer number, maybe 100, 200, 3, and so on. Okay, so this is array. In Java, array is object. So if in Java, this is in Java, array is object. So array can be something like what? Still something like this. But you can use array the length. Because what? Because this is a method. This is a field provide to the array object. This is in Java. However, this class, we talk about C. C is different. So for C languages, there's no methods, this concept. There's no object, this concept. So for C, how you remember array? This in C, if we want to divide array, we will say, okay, integer, this is integer array, and I want to create an array, and how many, what's the size? We need to give a size, okay? So in Java, you don't need to provide a size before you create it, but here, C, you need to tell C languages what's the length of this array. So if I give 10, then I can only use this array to store 10 data. You cannot just easily enlarge it, okay? So in Java, you can new blah, blah, blah array, a new size to create a new array for it. But in C, no. You define it, then that's it. This is ideal, okay? So in C, how to define an array? The simple idea is integer x, I want to store 10 result. So I can say 1, 2, 3, 4, and 10. I can do it. So this is a very simple case to define, to initialize the array. Okay, let me show you some example later. But do you think about, okay, if I don't know what the data it is, I don't know what's the data I should store in the array, it's fine. You can just define integer x 20, and after that, you just say x2 equal to 5, x4 equal to 7, and so on. So you can store the data to the array after you initialize it. So actually, when you do this definition, when you define this array, your system create a memory for this array. This is different to Java, because when Java, you create an array, you need to say new array blah, 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 to create this memory for this special variable, array variable. But in C, when you define it, it's already give you a memory. You don't need to allocate it memory to this array. You can just use it, okay? So let's see an example. Okay, let's start to see an example. So I create a new file called array.c. Then the first idea, I want to create an array. So I say I should let me give include library, because we will print out something later. So we include standard library, and we have a main function. Of course, it's return an integer. Then we have return 0 in the end. So let's define our first array. The first array is counter. So if we need counters for different, like flag as a flag for different variable or different situation, we can create an array like this. 0, 0, 0, 0, 0. So this is one example. Of course, we can give a different formatting. For example, we can give a character. Character letters is still 5. We can give something like this. The first character A, second character B, third character C, fourth character D, and the last character E. Okay, so another example we can give, for example, we want to get the float number, and this number can be just called data. So I don't know how many data I have, so I give 500 space. I maybe in Maximal, I need 500 data, but right now I only know letter 2, so I give 2 numbers. I can also do it. So in this case, your system creates 500 memory space for this array variable, but you only use the first 2 by default. So you put the 1.5 to the first as the first element and 2.3 as second element. Okay, and this is one example. Let's try to see if we can print out something from this. Okay, so we want to print out %f, and change line. We print out data. We try to print out the first data and second data. Okay, this is the idea. So GCC array, and we want to create an executable file. It's also called array. Then let's see. Okay, so you can see we successfully initialize the array. And if we want to check different data here, what the data should be? Actually, we don't know. It can be anything because we did not initialize. So it can be 0 because we don't have any other stuff be allocated in the memory. However, it can be something else, something maybe the memory you already use and you already discard the value, but actually they are in the memory. So in this case, it will use this memory, and you will get unpredictable data from the system's initialization. So if you don't assign the value to a particular space, to a particular location in your array, don't use it. System won't check it for you in C. You need to check it by yourself. Okay, so let's see another example. Another example we can have is like we can have array defined in some weird order, but it's a variable. For example, we can say, okay, I need the 10 space in this array, but I want to assign data to the first maybe 3, no, not first 3, the last 3 location. So I can say, okay, the last 3, the last 1, 9, equal to 1, and the last 2 equal to 5, and the last third one equal to 6. I can do this. I can also do something like, okay, I have an integer x equal to 100, and here I want to change it to x plus 1. You can do it. You can initialize the array in any order you prefer. Okay, so you can give an index that assign a number. Let's see what happened here. So I want to print out %i, and right now I want to print out the array A, 9. Let's see. You can see it's print out 100 plus 1, 101. So you can assign a value to a location you want by using this format. You can play around the order, not just use it by default. Okay, so this is one example. Let's go back. Okay, let's talk about 2D array. 2D array equal to array of array. So you can imagine that there's a big array here, and each element here actually is an array. Okay, this is 2D array. So in 2D array, it's really important because in C we use 2D array to represent a matrix. Okay, so how to define a 2D array is not so difficult. Remember, for 1D array, how we did it? We say integer a 10. This is 1D array definition. For 2D array, 2D, very similar. Integer b 10 and 10. So how many rows you prefer? And how many columns you prefer? In this case, you can easily generate 2D array. And 2D array is really useful. For example, you can use to represent a game board. If you have a chase or you have other like ball game, you probably can use 2D array to represent the map, the board's information. Okay, so let's check the 2D array, how 2D array works in the C program. Okay, so this is an example of 2D array. With this one, we can initialize an array. Let's copy and paste. You can make your array like this. You define array, which is something like this. There's a 4 rows plus 5 columns, so 20 number, and it's an integer. In this case, of course, you can use it. You can do any sum of product. For example, I want to do sum equal to m0, the first row, plus the third column, which is first row, third column is 17. 17 plus the third row and the last column, which is 14. So it should be 31. 17 plus 14 equals 31, right? Then you can also do something like, okay, I want to modify and the third row and second column in this table, in this 2D array, I want to update it equal to the element in the first row, first column times 2. So this is 20. So you can do it. You can do it. And after you do this manipulation, let's see. We can print out this table for I++. So I means the row number, and of course I can put the column number j equals 0, so j right now less than 5, and j++. Then I can try to print out printf printf. I want to print out %d. So each element in this row number and in this column number, I print out each one. And after each line, each row, after I finish each row, I print out /n to make it split, make it clear. Okay, so I prefer to put integer I and j outside of the for loop. Then let's try to GCC array, then array. Okay, so you can see the numbers in this data and it updates the stuff. For example, it gets the third row and second number be 20, which is 10 times 2. So this is how it works for 2D array. Okay. Of course, for 2D array, there's more convenience initialization. For example, you can get something like this. You can have declaration like this. So in this case, it's only assign the first 3 columns in each row to your array. Okay, so let's say this is n, and I want to copy everything here. Let's see what it look like. So if we want to print out the element in n, we will see the data here. You can see here the last 2 columns in each row does not have any value. Actually, we saw 0 here, but let me make it clear again. The 0 is not guaranteed to be assigned. It's just use a memory value, so you cannot guarantee which value you will get in this 2D array or 1D array. If you don't assign it, don't use it. Okay. So this is one example. Of course, for the original example, it's not necessary to give this. You can get rid of this parentheses to make it readable for programmer. So there's a couple formats you can use. And of course, there's another one very similar to what we covered for 1D array, which is you can assign an array like this. Again, this is the integer 2D array, which is called O. Okay, and it's 4 rows and 5 columns, which can be equal to what? Equal to, you just assign the first row and first column equal to -15. And the second row, second column equal to 100. And the last row, last column equal to 4. You can also assign to the array by using this. And if you assign this, let's see, it will get the value to this location, but no other value for other location. Let's print out over here. This is this one. Okay. You can see here, I got 3 value assigned and nothing else. Okay, so this is how you assign to the array. Okay, so today we know how to use array, we know how to define, we know how to initialize. There's a couple ways to initialize. We know 1D array, we know 2D array. The key for today, there's 2 keys. One is, first one, for array, when you define it, the system already give you a memory. So it's not object, so you don't have any methods to support the array. However, you don't need to worry about the memory allocation because when you create it, it's already give you the memory. Another part is that be careful about the data in array. If you don't assign the value into particular position, pay more attention about what's the value in this location because you cannot guarantee the value in the array if you did not assign any value to this location. So it's not like Java. Java might do some like an initialization for you, but in C, no. Okay, you cannot guarantee what's the value. So be careful about it. And I hope you enjoyed today's lecture. And next time we'll talk about what's a function, how we use a function and array together, then I hope you will enjoy it. Okay, so that's for today, and see you next time. Array is great.